Hi, everybody. This is Jerry Serino from the Median Podcast. Thank you, as always, for listening. Please go to fromthemedian.org and check us out. You can follow us there as well as on any of the social media apps: Facebook, Instagram, X, all those favorites that you have. Just go to Cleveland Right to Life, and you will find us there as always. My guest today is Claire Colwell. She has a wonderful story. It's wonderful. It's sad. It's dramatic. You could learn from it. It's something you have to hear. She is an abortion survivor. She's an author and she's a speaker, and she's here to tell us her story. Claire, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So let's just start from the very get go. If you go to realclairecolwell.com, that's your website, and it's a very good site. Looking at it right here, it's excellent. Has lots of great information. But share us your story. Take us from the beginning, and let's get right into it.
Okay, yes. So I grew up adopted. I always knew I was adopted. It was very positively spoke about in my home. Had a wonderful experience. Me and my sister are both adopted, different birth mothers. And so my sister had actually met her birth mother first. And this was the first time that I would say, humanized birth mother. The first time I had ever seen somebody who looked like my sister. Growing up
Yeah.
as both of us adopted, we'd never really experienced that. We actually looked somewhat like our adopted parents, but didn't have like those little oh, you have the same shoe size, or your eye is like this because of this, you walk the same way, or you have the same demeanor. We didn't have any of that. And so
Mhm.
seeing my sister with her birth mother made me think about my own birth mother. And so I actually reached out to my birth mother through my adoption agency, and they were able to locate her. I had a closed adoption, so she was able to say yes or no if she wanted to meet me. Fortunately, I said yes. Uh, it was an incredible first meeting. We shared pictures and we laughed and we cried, and I was able to see who I looked like. And yes, we had the same shoe size and we were the same height. And my sister, I remember her just being like, "Gosh, now we know why you're a whole 5 foot nothing," because we both are. And so it was great. It couldn't have gone any better, in my mind, meeting my birth mother, getting to meet her family, and my half sisters that I have through her, and her getting to meet my family, and just being together. It was great. And so we wanted to continue our relationship. And so we
Yeah.
set up, and this is the meeting that changed my life forever.
And how old were you when this you first met her?
21. So I was in college, studying to be a nurse. Um, you know,
And did she live, near you, or what was the distance and travel? How did that work?
my birth mother lived in Oklahoma. So I was born in Oklahoma City, adopted by Texans. So we lived 8 or 9 hours apart. And so we actually met in Dallas, which was kind of halfway point for both of us. And then our second meeting, this time I went to visit her in Oklahoma. So I saw kind of where she grew up and where I would have grown up if she had raised me, and kind of enter into her life and be just with her family. I did not have my family at this time, and we were just trying to take the time to get to know each other. And so it was actually the first night that I got there when I gave her a gift. I had prepared for this second meeting. I wanted to be intentional. I wanted to thank her for giving me my life and my family. I wanted to um, maybe break down the lies that she possibly believed about herself, about being a birth mother, about placing me for adoption, any guilt or shame that she had from that. I wanted her to know that she was a wonderful mother because of what she had given me through adoption.
Mhm.
And so I had a ring and a necklace with my birthstone on it. And then I had a card. And for whatever reason, on the way there on the plane, I wrote thank you for choosing life for me in the card. And I signed my name. And I got there and gave her this ring and necklace, and she cried really happy tears. And she asked me to put the necklace on her neck. So I was actually fastening the necklace on her neck when I watched her open the card and read the words that I wrote and just break down into tears. And she said, Claire, I'm so sorry. I didn't choose life for you. Your life is a miracle. And I remember just thinking, like, what are you even talking about? Like, what do you mean you didn't choose life for me? Like, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
you're here.
here. I was placed for adoption. I've had a wonderful life. I thought this was going to be our moment of like redemption. This was going to be our connecting moment. And here I was faced with these impossibly hard to explain tears in her eyes. I have never seen pain like that in anyone's eyes before. Even to this day, I still haven't seen anything that matches that pain. And she said, I've got to tell you about being pregnant with you at 13 years old. And she told me that when she was 13, her mother told her that the best thing for her was to have an abortion because she was in 8th grade. She was young. She wasn't ready to be a mother. Her parents were divorced. They didn't have the finances. They didn't have the support to bring a baby into the family. And so she said the best choice for us is to have an abortion. And so my birth mother actually did have an abortion while she was pregnant with me. She had a late term, a D&E, which is a dismemberment abortion, where the baby is actually torn apart limb by limb. She said it was excruciatingly painful, that nobody spoke to her in the room that day, that nobody asked her what her choice would have been. Nobody told her that she was strong and capable of motherhood, that there were organizations like pregnancy centers that wanted to walk alongside her. They just simply gave her the abortion procedure, sent her home, and told her that she could go back to life as normal. But she said that something wasn't right. She tried to. She went back to 8th grade for a few weeks, and then she learned, after going back to the doctor saying things don't seem right, that she had actually been pregnant with twins, and that the abortion successfully aborted my twin in the womb next to me, but I had miraculously survived. And so my birth mother dropped off at an adoption agency. There was a home in the hospital at the time, a dormitory for unwed mothers, and she lived there for just a few weeks until I was born.
Wow. It's I can't imagine standing there having this, excitement and joy and, a new relationship and the like, and then you hear this. So a couple questions before we go on, and feel free to share whatever you're willing to share. Do you 13 years old is very young. Are you aware of how, was it a boyfriend? Was it something beyond that? Do you know?
It was somebody she was seeing. He was around 16 years old, so a little bit older. But yeah, she
Okay,
was doing what young girls do when they don't have love in their home, and she was looking for love outside of her home.
sure. And so, why did she tell you why she didn't go back and have another abortion?
She actually did try. She actually, her mother, when she took her back and they found out that she was still pregnant with me, her mother demanded a second abortion. But at this point, she was now, uh, 28, 27, 28 weeks along in her pregnancy. Her first abortion was probably around 24, 25 weeks. And so at this point, it was too late in Oklahoma to do an abortion. It was not legal, but they could do that type of abortion in Kansas. And so my birth mother was actually driven to Kansas to have a second abortion. And the miracle in that is that they turned her away after examining her because she was leaking amniotic fluid from the sac that I was in, that they had torn during the abortion that successfully aborted my twin. And so, because of risk of infection for her, they did not perform that second abortion. Now, if there had not been a risk of infection, they absolutely would have performed that abortion. And that is another late term abortion that is being performed all over the country right now. And so
Yeah.
She was turned away, and she was then dropped off at the adoption agency back in Oklahoma.
And I'm sure you people are going to be able to do. I know women don't like to give their age, but can you share what year was this that this was going on?
So my birth mother had her abortion either in late uh, 1987 or very early 1988. And then I was born in 1988.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Just want to give a time frame for when this is all going on. And okay, so your birth mother tells you this. Take it from there. You know, what was your reaction, and how did you engage with her in regards to that? Because you know you have a. Was there any way to ever know if it was an identical twin or anything like that? I don't know if they can tell that stuff.
We don't know for sure. I have honored my twin and named my twin what my parents would have named an only son if they had had a son. And so my hope and my prayer is that my parents have their son. They told me that they would have adopted both of us, and so my prayer is that their son is in heaven and we'll get to meet him one day. But no, we don't know. What we do know, and or what we do believe, is that my twin protected my life. Likely they could not see me because my twin was very close or in front of me during the abortion procedure. And so it's very likely that we were identical twins in the same sack. But I also was in a sack that was not broken horribly. So I could have been in a separate sack. Either way, it's an absolute miracle that I survived. So, yes, I was sitting there um, with my birth mother. Tears just streaming down her, describing the most horrific experience of her life, telling me a story that I never thought would be a story that would be mine. Nothing can prepare you for finding out that you survived something that was meant to end your life, that you survived an abortion procedure, that you are a twinless twin. I mean, my head is just spinning, but I can tell you that the loudest thing in the room that day were my birth mother's tears. I don't know. I could even process much of what it meant for me until I went home, because all I could feel was empathy and compassion for my birth mother. Now, she'd asked for my forgiveness, and of course, I forgave her, not necessarily because I
Mhm.
needed forgiveness. She was a 13-year-old, and these choices were made for her. Um, but I also met her mother the next day, and I have chosen, because of how I was raised, and the forgiveness that was modeled for me in my home growing up, I chose to forgive not just my birth mother when she asked, but her mother the next day, and all the other people that were involved in this choice that was made for her, as I've thought about it throughout the years. And so my life was changed that day. But I can say when she told me all these things, it really did make sense of a lot of things for me. When I was born, I was born at 30 weeks. I had a dislocated hip. I had club feet. I had a lifetime of casts. I actually have some pictures I was going to show you. Do
Yeah.
you think these? But
Yeah, I
um,
can see that.
so this is me when this is my dad, and when they picked me up from the hospital. So I was about 2 months old here. So now you can see how really, really tiny I was when I was actually born. But I had these little casts on my feet, and then I had a body cast that put back together my body from what had happened during that abortion. And I actually have one of the little casts I wanted to show you today. I don't do this very often, but this just kind of gives you a picture of what happens during an abortion procedure and the miracle of my life. And so this is actually the harness that I went home wearing when I was 2 months old. And so up until about 2 years old, I lived in casts that put my body back together. And so as she's telling me this, I'm like, okay, we never knew why I had these complications. I've actually had a lifetime of physical pain, chronic pain. different hip problems, foot problems, things like that. And so we never knew why. And so here she is telling me that I survived her abortion. And so it made sense of those things. And so I got some answers that day. And so that was helpful. But it is the most life changing moment of my life. And it actually changed the whole trajectory of my life when I learned that I had survived her abortion.
Yeah, that is crazy. There's a million questions I have, and we can go on for forever. If you wrote a book that obviously is going to be able to tell this story in much greater detail. It's called Survivor, and you could get it if you go to realclairecolwell.com. You can get all the information, and you could search for the book anywhere where you get books. um, okay, I have a few more questions that I want to ask. I want to ask what was your perspective on the abortion issue prior to hearing this news?
I would have considered myself pro life. I am adopted. So I knew personally what the alternative to abortion can do for a child. Like I said, I loved my life growing up as an adopted child. I knew I was wanted, chosen, and loved. I knew my parents did really well with raising two adopted kids. And so I think I would have said that there's a better option than abortion. But that's about went. I didn't grow up in a home that talked about abortion. And so I didn't know anybody who had been impacted by abortion. So I didn't have any other opinion. But when I met my birth mother, it humanized the unborn baby for me and
Hmm.
made me understand that the unborn baby who is um, killed in the womb is grows up to be somebody like
Yeah.
me. So, somebody came up to me a few years ago and told me, Claire, I realized that when I face I'm looking at your twin, which means I'm looking at the aborted baby. And that really opened my eyes. But also, becoming a mother really helped me understand the true
Hmm.
effect, if you will, of abortion, because I realized when I held my daughter for the first time that her life was a miracle in itself too, because she wouldn't be here if I hadn't survived that abortion procedure. And so I would say that finding out, it didn't necessarily change my mind on abortion, but it opened my eyes to the reality of something that my family was quiet about and kind of stood on the sidelines thinking this doesn't impact me. Somebody else can do that. Somebody else can talk about that or go, provide resources and things for women because that's not our issue. Meanwhile, for 21 years, I just didn't know that I had been impacted by abortion. And so it woke me up, and I was able to know right away that I was supposed to do something about this because I knew that the humanity of the unborn child can be seen, visibly seen through the abortion survivor.
Yeah. And I think, for all those people that are, and I get bombarded on social media when I post the show and post clips of the show and people talking about, and they say it's not a baby, it's not alive, it's not living, blah 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 blah, all the excuses that they give. And then you look at a situation like this, what you just described, and I want to say to all of you people that respond on my posts and our posts and make those arguments. You tell me that wasn't a living human being that was alive and had life and so on. Of course it was. So the injuries that you had were the result of the abortion attempt, in a sense. So explain that to me a little bit if you could.
That is what my birth mother was told. My birth mother was told that because of her abortion and because of leaking amniotic fluid and the dry birth that she experienced, that my dislocated hip and club feet and lifetime of chronic pain were caused by those things. Now, there's always a possibility that my story is even more miraculous in that the abortion instruments didn't touch my body, because those can also be complications that twins have when they're crammed in the womb together.
Hmm.
That's what my birth mother was told. And so either way, absolutely miraculous.
Yeah, that is amazing. Um, it's amazing. So tell me what about any of your interaction with your birth grandmother, I guess is what we would refer to her as. She any engagement with her, because as you said, your birth mother was 13 and was essentially driven to wherever, all these appointments and all these things. Any engagement or interaction with your birth grandmother?
I met my birth grandmother the next day after my birth mother
Yeah.
told her abortion. And so that was interesting. I gave her a hug. She seemed welcoming, but I do know that she does not regret her choice. She does believe that she did the best for her daughter. And I do actually think that she did do the best thing for her daughter with the resources and the support that she had, because she was very lacking in that. And so, one thing I had this awkward interaction with her. I was able to forgive her, but I also have been sharing as much as I can and supporting as much as I can organizations like pregnancy resource centers and adoption agencies and educational groups who are sharing, like your program, stories that matter, stories that humanize what abortion is actually doing and the impact of that. Because I believe that if not just my birth mother, but if her mother and her father and her family knew that there was support available to them, that they did not have to do this alone,
Mhm.
place the baby for adoption, or that they could allow their daughter to parent, even though she was 13, to parent with the right support and guidance that is available through organizations like the pregnancy centers and
Mhm.
adoption, they could have made a different choice. And so
Yeah, absolutely.
it towards the circumstance that she was in, given that she did not know and she did not have that support.
Yeah. No, 100% correct. And I would say again to those people that follow and like to respond to my videos and similar videos, is that there could have been an adopted family out there who took both of you, right? You know, and been very happy, and there was a life that was not allowed to go forward, and that is a life that is human, and it is from the moment of conception. And obviously, especially at the point in which your brother or sister was aborted in a very painful and barbaric way, by the way, right? I mean, that's what I think some people forget. They think it just, they say abortion, you snap your fingers and baby disappears, and nothing further from the truth. Claire Colwell, your story is heartbreaking. It's hard to hear. It's hard to even know that this type of thing happens, but we know it does. And I really appreciate you sharing. And again, I would suggest to get all the full story and to hear more of it, to get your book called Survivor. Excellent book. Go to realclairecolwell.com. And you could also follow Claire at Claire Colwell. Just search her on any social media, and you can find her there. Claire, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking with you, and I appreciate you sharing your story.
Having me.
Yes, my pleasure. And thank all of you for listening to this episode of From the Median Podcast. We will see you next time.